The Punic Wars were a series of conflicts fought between the forces of ancient Carthage and Rome between 264 BC and 146 BCE. The name Punic comes from the word Phoenician, Phoenix in the Greek, Hoenus from Punicus in Latin, as applied to the citizens of Carthage, who were of Phoenician ethnicity. As long as Rome remained the little city of trade by the Tiber River, Carthage reigned supreme, but the island of Sicily would be the flashpoint for growing Roman resentment of the Carthaginians. Sicily lay partly under Carthaginian and partly under Roman control. When Arrow II of neighboring Syracuse fought against the Mamertines of Messina, the Mamertines asked first Carthage and then Rome for help. The Carthaginians had already agreed to help and felt betrayed by the Mamertines' appeal to Rome. They changed sides, sending forces to High Arrow II. The Romans fought for the Mamertines of Messina and, in 264 BCE, Rome and Carthage declared war on each other for the control of Sicily. Although Rome had no navy and knew nothing of sea battles, they swiftly built and equipped 330 ships. Even so, they lacked the expertise at sea of the Carthaginians and, more importantly, were lacking a general with the skill of the Carthaginian Hamilcar Barca. Hamilcar was surnamed Barca, meaning lightning, because of his speed in attacking anywhere and the suddenness of the action. During the war, the Carthaginian government had repeatedly failed to pay its mercenary army and, also in 241 BCE, these mercenaries laid siege to the city. Hamilcar Barca was called upon to raise the siege and did so, even though Carthage had refused him the much-needed supplies and reinforcements on his campaigns on its behalf, and he had led most of these mercenaries in battle himself. In 226 BC the Ebro Treaty was signed between Carthage and Rome, agreeing that the Romans would hold Spanish territory north of the Ebro River, Carthage would hold the area they had already conquered south of the river, and neither nation would cross the boundary. To the south of the border lay the city of Saguntum, a Roman ally, and, in 219 BCE, the great Carthaginian general Hannibal, Hamilcar's son, laid siege to the city and took it. The Romans objected to this attack and demanded that Carthage deliver Hannibal to Rome. The Carthaginian Senate refused to comply, and so began the Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BCE. Hannibal, a sworn enemy of Rome, received intelligence that Roman armies were moving against him and, in a bold gamble, marched his forces over the Alps and into northern Italy. Having lost many of his elephants on his march over the mountains, and lacking necessary siege engines and troops, Hannibal was caught in southern Italy in a cat-and-mouse game with the Roman army under Quintus Fabius Maximus. Fabius refused to engage Hannibal directly, relying, instead, on cutting off his supplies and starving his army. Fabius' strategy might have worked had not the Romans become impatient with their legion's inactivity. Further, Hannibal used counterintelligence to reinforce and spread the rumor that Fabius refused to fight because he was in the pay of the Carthaginians. The end.
So their plan is working perfectly. There's a chance of this massive, clumsy victory that they'd wanted, so they push on. But in doing this, they've lost what little order they had. It's like the crowd spilling out of a big football match. Thousands and thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, crammed together in a very small space.
The Romans are playing straight into Hannibal's hands. His plan is working. While Hannibal, the Gauls, and Spaniards keep the Roman infantry occupied, his cavalry rout the Roman horsemen and chase them from the field. Hannibal springs his trap. His deadly African mercenaries cut into the undefended Roman flanks.
They're suddenly facing foes that are coming from different directions. They can't organize a proper fighting line to face them. Everything is chaos. Momentum from the Roman attack goes completely. The crowd has stopped, but most men in it don't know what's happening at all.
Hannibal's cavalry returns to complete the encirclement of the Roman infantry. The Romans are surrounded, but the battle doesn't stop there.
Those tens of thousands of Romans have to be killed, and they have to be killed by hand. It's a case of a long, steady, prolonged slaughter, fought very brutally, face to face, toe to toe, eye to eye.
The young Scipio manages to fight his way out. But 50,000 of his comrades do not. Hannibal and his men spend the entire day annihilating the Romans in one of the greatest battles in history. But the fierce war between the two rival civilizations is far from over. Cannae is a bloodbath of epic proportions. This is Rome's worst defeat and Hannibal's greatest victory.
After the Punic Wars, Rome became a dominant power in the West that lasted for 700 years. The impact of Punic Wars still can be seen until today. They are. The first one is, United States Senate will not be called the Senate. And then, the United States money would not be said de pluribus unum on the back. Also, the Latin language as the foundation of the most Western European languages. And Roman law serves as basis of law system around the world. The term Fabian strategy is still used until now. And the last but not least, the city of Barcelona that is named after Hamilcar Barca.
They say it's what you make, I say it's up to fate, it's woven in my soul, I need to let you go, your eyes they shine so